the Director for Institutional Diversity here at St. Joseph's University. My office is responsible for coordinating the university's diversity initiatives. I am also the Executive Director for a program called the Ignatian College Connection, or we call it ICC here. And the ICC program is an outreach program that offers college prep workshops and study skills workshops to our students, and we offer a summer enrichment program for 3 weeks during the summer for underrepresented high school students. A little bit about myself. I grew up in the Winfield area. I grew up 4 blocks away from St. Joseph's University. I went to school at Gompers. And it's funny, growing up, I could actually see Marble Towers from my 3rd floor bedroom. But little did I know that I would end up here on Hawk Hill. As a child, I spent many times on the campus. I even actually took a couple classes here. And my sister is an alum from the MBA program here at St. Joe's. But one of the things I never really thought about and guessed was that I would be here on this campus working here in the capacity of service and leadership, trying to make a change, trying to make a difference for our students, faculty, and staff. Growing up, one of the things that my parents always taught me was that I am my sister's keeper, and that I have been blessed. And being such, I must be a blessing to others through my service to them. I know that the same message was passed on to these wonderful and incredible women of our panel. These women are experts in their field, and these women work in a variety of roles for a number of organizations. Their paths, while different, all started here on Hawk Hill. For the students that are with us today, these women sat in the very same seats that you sat in. They lived in the same dorms. They walked the same hallways as all of you. We are celebrating today, among many things, is the commonality that we share as members of the St. Joseph's University community. This is a very special place that has produced graduates that have had a long and proud tradition of achievement in the fields of service and civic leadership. A lot of them, our panelists are very busy, and I just want to give a little note. Sister Mary Scullion may have to leave us a little earlier, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all of our panelists to introduce themselves, but I'm going to start with Sister Mary first, and then I will start directing the first question to her. Thank you. So Sister Mary, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. My name is Sister Mary Scullion. I'm a Sister of Mercy, and I'm the co-founder of Project Home.
My name is Kristen Prin. I'm a graduate of St. Joe's 04, diehard college basketball fan, Hawk fan for life, and I work with high-risk teenagers for about 7 years now in Camden, New Jersey.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Flavel. I'm Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Common Foundation.
Good afternoon. I'm Corinne O'Connell. I'm the Associate Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity Philadelphia, Class of '97, St. Joe's.
Okay, thank you. The first topic and question that we're going to have our panelists discuss is, what does being a person for others look like for you? 5, 10, 20, 30 years now since your graduation from St. Joseph's University. I'd like to direct that question to Sister Mary.
I should say, I was 76. Proud graduate, one of the first class of women from St. Joe's, so that's a good thing too. I guess being a person for others really has been very formative in my whole life, when I came here at St. Joe's. And I think it was the example of Father Brady, who was here, and my other colleagues, the men and a few women that I went to school with here. And actually, I'm still friends with them, and we're all still involved in the same things, which is really kind of interesting. So Father Brady, one of the things that we did was the Eucharistic Congress in 1976 or 75, again, didn't remember. But Father Rube, who was the head of the Jesuits, came and he gave a talk, and I've never forgotten what he said, and it was, if anyone is hungry anywhere in our world, the Eucharist is incomplete everywhere in our world. So I feel that as a person at the Eucharistic table, that the needs and the sufferings of people, you know, in our communities here and around the world continues to call and transform me as a community of, you know, with other folks. So that was Mike Breen, Maureen McCullough, Anna, you know, and all these colleagues that went to school with here are leaders in civic and civic leadership, and they continue to affect me and transform me today. So,
Kristen, do I answer that question as well?
Yeah, for me, I think really just being, you know, with and for others came fairly natural from a young age. My mom was just extremely selfless, and we were kind of raised that there was no option. So it just, you know, it was just always a really humbling experience to me, especially to me, high-risk teenagers. My focus has been mostly gang-involved youth. Are just a very forgotten population. There isn't much support for these youth. There isn't much love or compassion or understanding, and you know, maybe some people would argue, rightfully so, because of a lot of a lot of things that those youth tend to get into, be it drug dealing, be it violence, or whatever. But to me, it just, you know, to be present with that population just came very natural, and yeah, just fairly effortless, selfish maybe even, but just, you know, fun, enjoyable, and I think my mom had a lot to do with that. But on campus, you know, that the service piece that we're taught is so fundamental, so key to a St. Joe's education, to a Jesuit education. So that involvement during those 4 years, I think, really made that a very easy segue for me after school.
May I go last?
Sure.
Would you go next?
Sure. So it's somewhat ironic. I was the commencement speaker for the class of '97, and my talk, I framed it around the hymn "We Are Called," and the refrain of "We are called to act for justice." So, rah, 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 I'm called to act for justice. I go and I take a job working for Accenture Consulting. Not that there's anything wrong with big bad corporate America. It's wonderful. But I'm there for about 2 years, and the analogy I use is that there was just this little pebble or something in my shoe that I couldn't seem to shake and get rid of, and the pebble, you know, change shoes and put on fancier high heels, I couldn't get rid of it. So I'll never forget the day I went into the partner's office, the partner at Accenture, and I said, "This isn't working for me. I, you know, have loved, you know, this has been great, this has been a good experience, but here's my letter of resignation." And he says, "You know, well, what are you going to do?" And ironically enough, I was headed to go work for Sister Mary in her army at Project Home. And he stopped me, he said, "But what if I, and can I, and could I, and we'd make it work?" And I just said that, no, it's not you. This isn't for me. So for me, it's been, I think the word I would use, I don't know, probably Sister Mary's use, but it's been a vocation. So it's 12 years now that I have worked in nonprofits and majority in housing and homelessness. And fortunately that pebble's gone, but there's a lot of bad calluses that I can't seem to get rid of. So that would be my answer, that there's certainly a calling there to act with justice.
Okay. And from my point of view, it was interesting to look at a career path of being a person for others. And I'll go back to Catholic elementary school, because if you remember when you entered, we begun to learn about God, and God was everywhere, and you kind of said, like, wow, you know, that's like, where is he? So, see, where's that guardian angel going to tap me on the shoulder when he's, you know, coming just to pay attention to me? But in any event, but through that whole experience of Catholic education, you were taught from day one, love one another, be kind, be caring, share. And that whole 8 years. And then you go into high school and things ramp up a little bit. You're much more engaged. Some high schools have 40 clubs today. So you have a variety of opportunities to get involved and share whatever talents you have with those who are less disadvantaged. So now you're in soup kitchens, and maybe you're working in hospitals or in nursing homes part-time. And then you get to the collegiate environment, and then you get to ramp that up again, and sometimes students go about and have global experiences. So my experience beyond college happened to also be in the corporate world in law, which is a wonderful place to be, but I was thrilled to have the opportunity to be invited by the family to work for Conley Foundation. And now, not only are we are a person for all these others. So that's how we like to look at it. We get to share all of their experiences and have the opportunity to work through them by supporting their tremendous efforts, because they're out in the field on the ground, touching people. And Conley Foundation does that as well, particularly through specific initiatives.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The next question, how can women not working in the nonprofit sector, who are juggling a lot of things in their lives, family, other responsibilities, how can they connect or even reconnect with their judgment values? I'd like to direct that question to Sister Mary.
Well, I want to pick up on Kim's that God is everywhere, and God's grace abounds, and that there are no scripts that are written for us for our lives, so that you really never know where God's grace is going to take you. And there have been women, like, again, like sometimes people think, oh, you know, again, Sister Mary's doing, you know, God's work, you know, because of what I do, work with homeless people. But actually, I mean, you know, I try. You know, but I make 100 mistakes and have screwed up more times than, you know, anybody would care to count. It's really, I don't think it's that way. I think we have to follow our passions and follow God's grace in our lives and kind of be true to that, because sometimes even maybe doing this work and not being faithful to the call or the vocation you have wouldn't be being true to, you know, what you're all about. And again, I would use the example of the Conley families, that the family, the sisters, actually just came one day. So Joan and I, we were volunteering in a winter emergency shelter, and they wrote us a check for $100,000, and they said, see what you can do with this. And with that, we put that money in the bank, and we started Project Home for permanent solutions to homelessness. And I also think about the feminization of poverty and women who are struggling every single day to make it. And I think about who's redeeming our world more. And I really believe that they are the prophets, and that's like Christ on the cross today. So that is somehow redeeming us if we're open to it too. And that's a little complex, but that's true. So, I mean, from my vantage point.
Can I ask, because I'm being time conscious for Sister Mary, can I ask one more question?
Sure. Yeah, and I apologize because I just had 1:30 to 2:30. I feel so guilty, but I'll get over it. But
I'm sorry. The power of the purse, you know, is one of the concepts we talk about. Women in philanthropy. What would be some of the ways that you would suggest that, you know, as women wanting to give back, that we would be able to do that? What are some of the things we should focus on?
Right. Well, I think that, you know, every dollar counts, and every day counts. So I always think of life as a dollar, and how you spend your life is so important. And sometimes, and Corinne is the best one. I want to hear what she says in answer to this, because she's phenomenal at this. But the idea that someone who's on the street said when people pass them by, and they look at them like a piece of trash, that's the way they feel. And that some people, though, walked by him, it was Sterling, and said the way that the people looked at him, like through his own human dignity, that was what gave him the courage to get up and to start his life kind of all over again. So I think like the power of the purse, I want to say like, again, this is every dollar counts, so obviously use your dollars to empower and enhance our world, our lives, you know, and it's so important, and we have so much power, even if you're not like super wealthy. But also the power of the purse, the power of you. And we all have power by the way we use our time, which I think is equally as important as the power of the purse. And the way we use our minds to think and to live your life truthfully and freely and, you know, and a life for others.
Okay, Kristen, can I ask you, going back to the other question I asked, how can women that are not in the nonprofit sector juggle their lives to get connected and be connected with Jesuit values and perspective?
I mean, I think so often, like, people kind of have in their mind, like, oh, you got to take a day off from work, oh, you got to do this on top of a full-time job and a full-time family or whatever. I feel like I was actually thinking when you were asking the question, one of my best friends from St. Joe's works for the Phillies. He's been over there 7 years, and you know, they make $28,000 a year, you know, even after working there 7 years, and he's there 80, 100 hours a week, you know, when the team is on. But he's always like, I feel like I'm not doing anything. I feel like, you know, I'm just kind of wasting my day and whatever. And even just in my life, like, I always say to him, like, I can think of so many ways that he's done so much for so many people just by working there. For my kids that I work with, he gets them out on the field, they get to meet players, they get a couple hours out of the city. You know, he hooks me up with certain offices through the Phils that get me grant money. I mean, just so many random things, and he's kind of in the mindset of like, I don't have time, I don't do anything. That was an example to me of someone that's doing so much without even knowing what they are. But I was thinking, you know, in terms of parenting, like, if you are, you know, putting so much time and effort into your family and your job, you know, helping your kids to get involved, and you're talking about all the programs in high schools and colleges, but being that guide, and some of my friends and coworkers that aren't really able to reconnect with a lot of those ideals that we talk about. You know, being able to correct a paper, being able to help with a college essay, being able to do a FAFSA form for someone, being able to be a second set of eyes to look at a grant late at night, you know, after you get home from work. Or, I mean, like Sister was saying, money, you know, we need that too. We really do. I feel like people feel so guilty, like just writing a check, but a lot of us couldn't do what we do if there weren't, I mean, everyone has different gifts and everybody does different things, and, you know, working those corporate America jobs make, you know, enable us to be able to do what we do. So I think those things are equally important in a different way. Donations, you know, non-monetary donations as well. But I think there are little ways to just make it a part of your daily life without having to take so much time out. Or get your office, get your job to do something as a team, or to put that into their schedule.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Perhaps you do know that in a nonprofit's financial statement, there's a line for in kind, and that has a very significant value to it. And it's actually a pretty big dollar amount. If you're an organization that relies on volunteers to get its job done. So I think if you just look inside yourself and get a sense of what is I might like to do. Could I be a mentor? You know, also we have a tremendous hunger problem here in Philadelphia. And often there are good food drives, even if you packed a bag of groceries and took it to a local church. I mean, we have over 245 food cupboards in this geographic area. And I'm telling you, they're crying for donations, because what has absolutely happened is years ago, maybe there were 80 people coming. Trust me, now there's 300 trying to get food from those different food cupboards around this region here. there are a number of boards that want your talent. They need new board members. And sometimes what your treasure is your talent and you're bringing to them. Also, of course, money is important. If any of you work for corporations, if you have matching donations, take advantage of that. Double your dollars that go to another nonprofit organization. They will value each and every dime. And you know what? Once they see you're doing something like that, you might hear from them. They might entice you. Come into our organization. We have a variety of opportunities for you to share with us and actually help that organization strengthen and grow. And actually then it gets down to who's the real consumer of the services that they're offering. You will definitely be impacting them. Also, and I don't know how many people here will do it, graduates of Catholic schools. A lot of graduates of Catholic schools here. Your parish elementary school needs you. It's like an army poster. We need you. Every Catholic elementary school has to build an advisory board. Go back. Give back. Give them your time. Get on the board. Help them raise money. Help them have an event. Help a kid write a thank you. They need so many services to help strengthen themselves so we can preserve that extraordinary treasure that's here. So you can go there tomorrow and they'll open that door and welcome you in. So give it thought. Give it thought.
I would echo everybody's sentiment here. I think it can be little and it can be big. From a board level to matching gifts in a corporate setting. Think about what you were passionate about when you were on campus. And find an organization that's out there, because I promise you there is one that's out there that likewise has that Army recruiting poster in their doorway and would welcome you, whether it's at the board level, a committee level, if it's a once a month or once a week after school mentor, whatever it is. But we need just a little bit of time, and it does go a long way. Time, talent, treasure is what I usually say, and we've all got a little bit of each that we can share. And then to echo the power of the purse, when I worked out in Seattle at the YWCA, I was part of a campaign there. It was a $30 million campaign, and it was all women, and it was women helping women. And it was amazing to be part of that, and women finding their voice in writing that check instead of going home, not that there's anything wrong, going home to discuss with a husband or a partner to talk about their finances, but think about where we are now from where, Anne was when she had her job in 1975, or, even for the past generations, that we're out earning dollars, and there are dollars, and we can determine how we want to use them and where we want to see those dollars work in the community. And to bring it full circle, it goes back to kind of what Mary said about empowering women, but I think it's a really important voice that we need to use to empower other women, because it's lifting up, it's sort of the raising all boats theory. But yeah, to see the power of the person, to women finding their voice in philanthropy is pretty powerful, pretty amazing.
I think real quick, just one simple, silly thing that I feel like we all forget so often. I'm sure you two would say this with the homeless connection, but like during the day saying hi to someone on the street. I worked on the U.S.-Mexican border for a couple years after college, and just when I came home, seeing, obviously, there's a huge Latin community, but, I was so closely connected with the Mexican community, but seeing so many people just treat, be it homeless, be it undocumented, whatever it might be, just like such crap. I've had so many people say to me, like, hey, you're the only one that said hi to me today, or hey, you're the only one who, obviously there's a lot of people that speak Spanish, you're the only one that spoke Spanish to me, or you're the only one. Simple stuff that's just part of your day in a restaurant, on the street, walking through Philly. I feel like we can all, do that, and that doesn't take any time.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, no, please.
Okay, and that is also look at the big picture and think. There's plenty of money in our country still. And I think that we have to get involved in advocacy and be involved in civic engagement and in politics. Like, not the bad politics, but the good politics. The only way politics stays good is if more people get involved and hold our elected officials accountable. Because that's power too. We can't sit here and think, we'll do this or do that, because we might not have, like, Bill Gates, but look what he did with his money. Talk about the power of the purse. I mean, he's phenomenal. But or Mr. Conley, when he did, with his, with his wealth and power. But we do have to, there still is plenty of money in this country, but the economic divide is getting wider and wider. And we have to be involved to think about how we, what kind of legacy we want to leave our kids and our grandkids as a society, as a community of people from all walks of life.
Well, I want to open it up to you ladies. Are there questions that you have for the panelists, things that you would like to know about, you'd like to hear them talk about? Anyone? Thank you, Sister Mary.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
I'm interested in entering the nonprofit sector. I have a background that's completely separate to that. I have a background in like fashion, and I find that nonprofit is entering that sector is very challenging. I feel as though, regardless of your level of education or what transferable skills you have, people just kind of want to see you work for a nonprofit. Is there any way you could give me? Is there any strategy you could give me to kind of circumvent that, or any advice you could give?
Yeah, I'll answer that. There are absolutely organizations that only advertise nonprofit positions, and the first that comes to mind is the one operated by LaSalle University's Nonprofit Management Development Center. So they have a newsletter, I think it's called Opportunity Knocks, and it's only to nonprofit positions, and then there's, what's it called? Yeah, idealistcatholic.com. So there's a ton of avenues out there to seek nonprofit organizations. And then you just have to I come from the corporate world and I'm working in the nonprofit world. A lot of those skills were transferable, because we come in from a business point of view. But you have fashion, I know nonprofit organizations that spend their time coaching women who probably never got a GED, so maybe now they're getting their high school education. They're teaching them how to interview for jobs, but they also dress for success. Career wardrobe, Delaware County Community College resources, they have a whole major program related to that. So there's actually a man side to that as well. So yeah, there's a lot of fashion style nonprofit organizations. Somebody was making gloves and sending them overseas. So, even Mary, I love her thrift store, Our Daily Threads, like anything that makes a lot of sense. So I think it's out there. You just have to search a little bit for it, or go back to local universities. I don't know what Philly U has. I don't know where you went to school.
I went to school at University. I'm from Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
Yeah.
Sure, but they're nice people over there. So it would be interesting, find a student, call somebody up, call somebody in their design department, and just ask them, what do they see in the nonprofit world? And they might be able to give you, some great info. The former president of Philly U's on our board, so if you're really interested in that, you call me, I'll talk to him, we'll get a name, and we'll give it back to you.
That's what I would say. I would echo that. So I think and that goes across the board for all of us, is to work the networks and work mentoring. So just put it out there to everybody you know. You're looking to make a career transition. You'd like to work in the nonprofit sector. Who do they know? Just think outside of the traditional, you can go to Opportunity Knocks and you can look at Idealists, but it always helps when you know somebody who works at whatever they, applying organization is, interested organization. So put it out to your networks of people. Exactly that team came up on that, because there's your in to fill you to figure out, how to work that angle. But tell everybody you know that you're looking, and that's how the doors open.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So another hand?
Could you give some examples for those of us who might be working in corporate settings, beyond the matching gifts, of how you can go to your corporation and start the food drive or the clothing drive, or things that have actually worked?
Sure. So I can jump in there. most corporations have somebody who's in corporate responsibility. There's usually somebody in that division in most large, find out who that is and say, can I have 30 minutes? Here's an idea. It might already be happening. You know, they might already do a food drive, but you could say, could we do one for Project Home, or could we do whatever organization? But I would find that person within your organization. If that person doesn't exist, then who in the food chain that you could say, hey, I'd like to step forward in my time, do this at the organization. Because people are willing to do it. At Habitat, we have people, you know, they do dress down days, they do donuts, all sorts of things in their business, in their office setting to come out and then volunteer with us, because it takes a lot of money to build Habitat House. So people are very creative in a corporate setting to raise dollars to come out and work.
And you'd say that most corporations would be kind of receptive to that kind of a thing?
I would say without a doubt, most corporations are, because again, it's creating a positive work environment for people. People like to volunteer, people like to pitch in. It's just, you know, it creates positive morale in the workplace. So why wouldn't, you know, they're not going to say they're screwed, like, no, we're not going to do a canned food drive, you know, that they're going to say, yeah, if you've got the willingness and the energy and the drive to do it, by all means, go for it. So, and there's matching dollars. There's some corporations out there. In our mail I opened the other day, Campbell's Soup sent me $450, and I, you know, tracked it a little bit, but it was a gentleman who had been out volunteering, and he himself had never given $1, but Campbell's matches up for 20 hours of his volunteer service. So I got to call him and Campbell's and say thank you so much for his 20 hours of volunteering out with us. So there are dollars out there. Corporations really do encourage people to be out in the community. You can get time for serving on boards and committees and volunteering in the community. So look into it for sure.
May I offer something?
Sure.
Please. I am a volunteer project employment coach, and there's a program there that PICO sponsors for veterans, and that came out of a number of the employees of the homeless veterans, employees of PICO championed that cause, and then the corporation took it up, and now the corporation is championing the cause. Even to opening the coffee kiosk in the municipal court building, that will be manned by funded by PICO and managed by the formerly homeless vets.
Yeah, going off of that, I work fairly close with Campbell's actually in Camden, and they obviously have so much. They have offices just for that. But if it doesn't exist wherever you are, being able to go over and say, what do you have going on, going through their website, setting up a meeting with them, and then kind of copycatting some of what they have that works. They have an open door policy for anyone basically, but there's someone around that does really well and does so much for Camden and Philly.
I'd say pick a topic. Start with, what do you want to serve children? Do you want to serve the homeless? Do you want to feed people? So start with that, and then there's myriad organizations that can help you fulfill any one of those wishes. So there's a great organization, Cradles to Crayons. Are people familiar with that? So they just want gently used clothing, and then you volunteer there. It is an extraordinary operation, you know, and they bring in hundreds of volunteers at a time to sort clothing. I mean, it's really a very efficient operation, and it serves a lot of children on a daily basis.
Other questions?
It sounds like, at least for two of you, that your paths started in a different way than where you ended up, so in the corporate world, so to speak. And I'm curious to know, it sounds like you're very fulfilled now doing what you're doing. If you had it to do over again, would you have started off differently based on your experiences? And could you offer advice to students in the room who might be considering a choice between getting a job in the corporate world versus starting their careers in some area of service to others?
You know what I find fascinating? That those of us who started the corporate world flip to the nonprofit side. And those that started in the nonprofit side sometimes flip back to the corporate world. You know, exactly.
That's basically what I'm looking at.
So, you know, I think that's interesting. I mean, when I look at philanthropy, I know so many attorneys who are now executive directors of nonprofit organizations, because I think we as women, we're caring, we're nurturing, we're compassionate. I think we have all those skills. And I also think, you know, we juggle so many things. We are born, I believe, multitaskers. You know, because we go from, you know, helping siblings, then we're raising families, then we have our own children, now we're taking care of aging parents. And while we're doing all that, accomplished it, we're still doing, at the same time, I think we're also incredibly great at running businesses. So I just think we have all those wonderful talents. The advantage to go from corporate to nonprofit is the nonprofit world really wanted to be more business-like. They wanted to be more focused, particularly financially, so they could be more efficient in running their operations. So they needed, we still find a lot of people incredibly good at programming. They know how to do the service, but they don't always have as much expertise as they might need on the financial side to keep them solid and liquid, you know, so they can continue to do the wonderful service.
I would say, I'm just reflecting quickly myself, I would probably do the same thing again, because I don't know that I would be able to step away from the one without having tried it. And the other is, there are plenty of year service opportunities out there. Do Mercy Corps for a year, do Jesuit volunteer service, be an AmeriCorps member for a year, go do a year of service in your backyard here, or your home backyard, or wherever. Get a year of experience doing that, you get a little bit of flavor. It is, I mean, Teach for America right now is the top recruiter on, you know, the elite college campuses right now. So go do that. Go get your feet wet that way, and then you can, you know, after a year say, all right, either, yep, I'm going to continue down this path, or I also joke that I still don't know what I want when I come out. So, I mean,
there's also right here at St. Joe's, so I'll plug it. St. Joe's has started an ACE program, which is the Catholic version of TFA. Are you familiar with that? Are you a student here?
Yes.
Oh, did you apply? They'll have a new cohort.
I'm considering ACE. I've heard a lot about it. Really
Good.
excited.
Oh, you'll love it.
What is it?
I can. ACE is a program that was started by the University of Notre Dame. And what they do is they actually look for the top talent across the country and invite them to be part of a teaching corps. So they would actually go into the classroom of a school where the poverty level is very high. And they would commit for a 2-year term to teach in that school. Now, while they're teaching, they're also being educated, so there's a perk to it. They're going to earn a master's in education degree. So it can be incredibly fulfilling. Here's the difference between Teach for America and the statistics that University of Notre Dame puts out. TFA, and you've probably heard, sometimes they call it Teach for 2 years. You know, so they go in, they do their stint, and then they're off to corporate America. And it looks wonderful on a resume, plus jobs are a little tight right now. So it's a great way to work, earn a salary. I mean, you do get paid, you'll get benefits, plus you get a master's degree. It's talk about win-win, that's a good deal. You can do the same thing with the ACE programs, and they're in different cities around the country. Obviously, we have a chapter here at St. Joe's University. I think the next closest one is up at Seton Hall in Boston. Like, think of major metropolitan cities, and you'll find one of the University of Notre Dame's ACE programs. The difference is the statistics for ACE are they stay 5 to 7 years in the system. And so many of them will then continue on to take, you know, they'll become the next assistant principals and the principals and the future superintendents, just like they do in Teach for America, complementing them. They have a wonderful track record there as well for those who do stay in their system. The Catholic version is just a little tighter in terms of longevity.
Yes.
Is that ACE program only for parochial schools and Catholic schools?
The ACE program puts teachers into parish elementary schools in the city of Philadelphia. Teach for America, and there's a local chapter here, and they put their teachers into the public schools
Right, okay.
and some charters. Yes.
You mentioned Mercy Corps.
I'm
Yeah.
Sister Mercy,
Yes.
so I'm going to give that a plug.
Right.
That's not necessarily education, it's a lot of other types of social service that's offered. And their headquarters are at Winter Mercy College.
Thank you, sisters. How are you? It's good to see both of you. Thanks for being here. You know, in addition to that, for the younger people, if you have children, there's also something called Philly Fellows. And the twist to Philly Fellows is it's the same type 2-year commitment, but they commit to work at a nonprofit organization. So what happens there is people like Conley Foundations support that because we subsidize the salary portion of it, and then they get, and that's a wonderful entree. That's a wonderful entree into, it would be an organization like Project TOE, any of the legal entities that do not, are nonprofit entities, Senior Law Center and Community Legal Services, so there's tons of those. So if you think you have a profession in mind, you can probably, assuredly, find a nonprofit who's also in that field, even technology.
I'm really interested in this insight about nonprofit organizations. I remember a woman, I think one of the speakers earlier in Munson had mentioned that as far as at the executive level of nonprofit organizations, there was still only 20% female. I mean, what would you say about the level of stability and support and advancement in nonprofit?
Well, I worked for Sister Mary. So she's breaking the rules and the trend. And then I was at the YWCA, and so that was a pretty much all women-led leadership organization. But that one, when Ann mentioned that at the podium, that one struck me because it is kind of funny. You sit around, and most nonprofits I've been in, it is majority women at the table, but when you do look at the top of the ladder, it is traditionally a man. So we have room to move the needle on that one for sure.
From my point of view, most of the women and even the CEOs that we interact with, I mean, it's women at the top. So maybe that would be fascinating, maybe to do a survey right here of local nonprofit organizations, because the majority of people I interact with are women at the top. So I think we need to test that number just a little bit. I'm not certain.
Like it.
I don't know, did it come from
I don't know.
the South or the Midwest or something? But I think here on the East Coast, maybe we're just a little bit more progressive. We'll test that. For Delaware Valley grant makers, maybe they'll just go through all the organizations, and we'll see if we could get a little bit of data on that, and then maybe we'll just come back and share that with everyone. So I'm curious. Exactly.
Other questions that you have for our panelists?
I noticed on the website that there was a short bio of a woman who was involved in the Ignatian volunteer program for women and men in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I was wondering if that woman was here.
Thank you for reading it. No, I was going to mention it, but I looked and saw a lot of young faces, so I'm not sure how appropriate it is, but it is Ignatian Volunteer Corps, and we are primarily for people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s. We ask you to commit for 2 days of volunteering for 10 months, and we meet once a month over the carriage house, actually. And we do follow the Ignatian spirituality, and we do discuss and support each other in our endeavors. And we are actively recruiting volunteers, and we are also actively recruiting sites. So if you But I do have a few brochures, and there's some out on the table if anyone was interested. And I will say one other thing I heard, talking about Ignatian spirituality. I have found this website run by the Irish Jesuits. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's wonderful. It's called, it's bookmarked on my phone. I don't have to remember. It's called Sacred Space. And it's 10 minutes on your computer every day for a little spiritual uplift. And then there's another link called Living Space, and you can go to that, and it discusses and teaches about the readings of the Mass. Mary, you're on.
Sacred Space, they do offer a book that has reflections for each day. So in addition to the website, there also is a printed material. About $15, I think.
Yes, you have a question?
My question is actually directed to you.
Sure.
How do you incorporate, just being here today, I'm an evening student, so I don't get to be a part of this Jesuit experience by being an evening student. So how do you incorporate the evening students into that Jesuit?
I understand. And I'll be honest, it's been an ongoing dialogue that we're having here on our campus. We're trying to do with some of the programs that we offer. A lot of them are offered for the day students. So we're trying to reach out and do more in some ways for at times where our students that are here in the evening could also participate. Through my office, when I do the diversity programming, sometimes we'll do like a 4 to 6 schedule so that we maybe catch students before they come in. But I also sometimes find that if I make sure that we bring a speaker, that if I make sure that the instructors know it, that the instructors encourage them to allow their students to attend. And so trying to do sometimes even later workshops or lectures, what have you. I know that on our campus we've recently it's created an office that works with our commuter students and the PLS students. Nancy Kamada is in charge of that. And Nancy and I, we have a lot of dialogues about how can we get more engaged, our students more engaged from the PLS programs. Because we know that you all offer a valuable talent resource to our students. Being students, you also offer that kind of talent to our undergraduate students, day students, because of the knowledge and experiences that you bring. So it's something that we're still kind of working with, and we definitely, I know over the last couple of years, have met with some of the PLS students to talk about ways that they can also kind of buy into the Ignatian perspective and be able to help other students as well. Students in PLS have volunteered to do tutoring for daytime students, or even the students in their own program. But it's something that we are working. So hang in there.
I have a question for Kim. Kim, how does the Conley Foundation decide who they're going to support, and what is the best way for people to present themselves to Conley or to other foundations? What do you look at as a worthwhile? What are the
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay.
What's the secret?
A general question, not just Conley.
Right.
In general.
Now, we're looking for great leaders. Great leaders run great companies, and they get great results. Because, it's about the charism. We sisters, talk about charism all the time. There's a charism or personality in every organization. And if you look at someone like Sister Mary, and that it's such a point of pride for the Conley Foundation to think that Josephine Mandeville and Emily Riley had to convince their father, you want to do what? And he was very mercy-oriented because John Conley's two sisters were Sisters of Mercy, and they know them quite well. But $100,000 was a pretty big ticket for what? The organization didn't even exist. Fortunately, John Conley was a faith-filled man, and he had a lot of faith in the Sisters of Mercy. So they walked down with a check to Mary for $100,000. It was her first donation for that operation. And today, Project Home has an operating budget of approximately $13 million annually, and it's always growing. Trust me, it's a moving target because there's another new facility that's going to come online within the next 12 to 18 months. So, that's it. It is. It's about the leadership, it's about the quality of your program, and it is about your results. How are you making a difference? So, you do have to convince us to invest. Yes?
I was just going to say, on the part of the organization seeking funding, though, isn't it kind of their responsibility to do a little homework to say, okay, my grant is in science, but the Conway Foundation is really focused on education, like to kind of find the organizations that are a good match first, do a little bit of homework up front.
Absolutely.
And then, when you write that first letter of inquiry to say, I understand that Conway is really interested in education, that's what we do. So like to even just kind of get your foot in the door rather than just saying, we have a great organization, will you fund us?
Right. But we use the word learning, which is a deliberately broad term. Because it's not just about formal education, it is about vulnerable people. We didn't have the same advantages. You know, everyone here is or will be a graduate of St. Joe's University. So this is about people that have been marginalized, their whole lives. So that learning, we support St. Joe's in a variety of wonderful ways, but we also support agencies that are really trying to improve the quality of life for people, other citizenry as well, So, but the number one ingredient, great leadership. Sometimes, and I'll say this, it's not always at the top. Sometimes it is the program director who really leads that charge and makes sure the service is top notch.
This is a selfish question, but I hope it applies to other people who are students in the room. I'm going to be graduating this year, and I'm kind of leaning towards a law degree or some kind of graduate work, and I was wondering if any of you could tell me that would help me in my ultimate goal of entering the nonprofit world. Would you say an additional degree or additional education is necessary or would be helpful in the nonprofit realm?
My gut instinct says get out there and get working, get experience. The law degree is an expensive one to then pay back if you're working in the nonprofit sector. So just get, do the ACE program for a year, do America for a year, go get an entry-level job in a nonprofit somewhere, and just start, kind of earning your stripes that way. And then you'll know 2 or 3 years in, you think, oh, yep, I do. I think I can advance this or move the needle on this or more of an impact if I have a law degree or a master's in public health or whatever. You'll learn some in which direction you want to go.
Can we ask a question? And of course, and we're just wondering, do we have anyone here who's, sisters, you could probably go first, who does volunteer, who does commit themselves? Yes.
I'm a big brother sister.
So I don't think anyone could hear you.
Oh, I'm a big sister. I volunteer with Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Very good. Trust me, they need a ton of volunteers. And you're mentoring a young woman, right?
Yes, I am. They need men.
They do need men. They do. This is an all-female audience, but we know they have incredible challenges in getting male mentors. But for all you, where's all the corporate people? Raise your hands.
We love you anyway.
Right. Big brothers, big sisters will bring the students to your workplace to be mentored. Do you know that? Oh, you know that. Okay, so, and if you didn't, now you know. So if you want to get that going, I mean, those kids get in buses and they go all over the, Comcast has a big mentorship program.
I'm actually a big sister at Comcast.
I know that.
And they bring in, and it's seamless. It's, a couple of hours out of your month, and the kids come and they love it, and the mentors love it too. I mean, it works for both.
Well, ladies, I think that our time is up so that we can continue the conversation as we network. But I want to say, can we give a round of applause for our